Hi, I'm Amber,
And I'm Kirsten.
and you're listening to
Lurking in the Shadows.
Welcome to True Crime and a Dime
Where we tell you a chilling story.
in 10 minutes time.
This is our short story segment where we bring you 4 shorter cases in one episode.
Yes, and our last few have been kind of long. Today should be average, we're hoping.
Yeah, we're going back to our old random ones. There's no theme in this episode.
No, we're just doing ones that we wanted to do that, yeah. Mine are pretty different from each other.
Yeah, I have an unsolved murder and a missing person.
Mine are both solved. They're just different.
All right, well, I will start us off with the case of Alan Wood. I couldn't find his birthday, but Alan was the eldest of 3 children of Jim and Maureen Wood. Alan was born in Gillingham, England, but had grown up in the village of Cairby along with his sisters Janice and Sylvia. Alan was 50 years old at the time of his death and was known to his family and friends as a contented, laid-back, easygoing, and gentle man who worked hard and enjoyed the simple things in life. He often spent his time at the Willoughby Arms public house in nearby Little Bytham, where he could be found sitting at the bar with a pint and a pack of peanuts, reading a newspaper and talking with friends. He loved photography and took wedding pictures for some of his friends. His other passions included motorbikes and cars and gardening. Alan worked at a few nurseries and gardens before starting his own gardening business called Gardens TLC.
Huh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. In 2006, he began working night shift at Sainsbury's supermarket in Burn, England, to supplement his income in the winter months. Alan had been married to a woman named Joanne, but they separated on good terms in 2003. So Alan sounded like a wholesome, well-liked man, which made what happened to him all the more shocking. Alan lived in a small village called Lound, which is approximately 16 miles north of Peterborough. And shameless plug, but we covered the Peterborough ditch murders in episode 26, if you haven't listened to that case yet. In the early morning hours of Saturday, October 24th, 2009, a friend and co-worker of Alan's arrived at his house for a visit. She was immediately apprehensive about entering when she found both the front and back doors wide open and no response from calling out for Alan's name. She contacted Alan's landlord, who arrived at the property, and together the two entered the home. The scene was later described as being the most horrific crime scene ever witnessed in Lincolnshire police history. Alan's body was found lying face down on the blood-drenched living room floor. He had been dead for some time and lay in a congealed pool of blood. His hands were bound with sellotape, and there were massive wounds to his head that had been inflicted with a bladed object where he had been stabbed repeatedly. Alan had been killed by having his throat cut, but most horrifically, it was determined that the killer had attempted to cut off his head.
Oh, jeez.
The house showed no signs of a break-in, but his bank cards were missing. Detectives think these wounds were inflicted to torture Alan, possibly to give up his bank card PIN number. Police interviewed some of Alan's neighbors who did not report hearing any sounds of a struggle or screaming. Alan had no known enemies and was never involved in any criminal activity. Police determined that Alan had last been seen alive on Wednesday, October 21st, 2009, 3 days before his body was found. And he was confirmed by CCTV shopping in the Morrison's supermarket in nearby Stamford that afternoon, and was also confirmed that he visited the Willoughby Arms pub on his way home. He had a drink and conversed with the bar staff before he left around 6:30 p.m. This left an unaccounted window of about 65 hours from Alan last being seen alive to his body being discovered. Luckily, police did have some evidence to work with. They are not sure how many perpetrators were involved, but a size 8 Converse Mark LE red trainer footprint was left at the scene, as well as fragments of a bus ticket from a local burn transport company, which was found stuck to the sellotape used to bind Alan's hands. Which, when I read that made it seem like kind of sloppy, like that you're going to leave parts of your bus ticket attached to the tape you used on your victim.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if this is a seasoned professional or not doing this.
No. This sounds like a frantic person.
Mm-hmm. But most importantly, a full male DNA profile, not Alan's, was found from blood at the scene. So this makes you wonder if the killer injured himself while attacking Alan, or maybe Alan caused the injury while trying to defend himself. The DNA profile was uploaded into bases like NDNAD in the UK, as well as an international search being made on at least 47 different databases, but there was no hit. Early on in the investigation, police found that Alan's bank cards had been used in Byrne and Stamford over a couple of days after his murder at ATM cash points, and this person was captured on CCTV footage, but it is very grainy. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'll be putting the photos on the screen, or if you're listening, you can go to our Instagram afterwards and look at these photos as well. Only 2 out of 11 attempts to use the card were successful. The person appears to be 5'9" to 5'11" tall, with a medium to slim build, dressed in what's described as a smart casual manner from the CCTV images, and they appear to be wearing a distinctive striped scarf. The person has an unusual walk, and experts outside of the police force have analyzed the CCTV footage and determined that he limps due to his right leg being slightly longer than his left.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you think, you gotta find this person. Someone has to know someone with 2 different size legs.
Right?
A witness also came forward to say that she had seen 2 men using a cash point in Sainsbury, the same store where Alan worked, at about 9:30 p.m. that same evening. The perp is also caught smoking on camera and is believed to have strong local knowledge of the area due to being aware of the CCTV footage within the area and taking precautions to avoid being recognized when he's caught on it. Police are assuming that robbery was the motive, but it's, pretty brutal for just a robbery.
It just seems frantic. Like, I feel like maybe they're a seasoned robber, like seasoned criminal, but I don't think they're a seasoned killer.
Right. It is believed that Alan likely answered the front door and then was overpowered by at least 2 men. He was then tortured in order for the killer or killers to gain his PIN number for his bank cards, being stabbed in the head and eye when he refused.
Aye.
They think Alan may have been tortured over a period of time, theorizing that one of the men would have stayed with Alan while the other man went to the ATM, with the man that stayed with him inflicting more torture each time Alan gave the wrong PIN. Because like I said, only 2 out of the 11 attempts to use the card were successful.
Okay.
Alan was finally killed by having his throat slit before his killer or killers attempted to cut off his head.
Jesus.
This case has received a lot of UK publicity over the years and has been featured on Crime Watch UK twice. 4 people have been arrested for Alan's murder since 2009, but all were released due to lack of evidence. One theory that is discussed is that Alan may have been the victim of mistaken identity. He apparently resembled the manager of the Sainsbury store he worked at, so maybe they were really targeting him.
Wow.
Alan also owned a Jaguar car that could have given the impression that he was wealthy. So maybe these people just saw this as an opportunity to try to rob the guy, but then, he really wasn't that wealthy.
Yeah.
And then this is a good case to use some genetic genealogy on because, we have a full DNA profile. This case is solvable. I don't know if they've tried genetic genealogy with the DNA in this case, but it's unsolved. We don't know who did this to him.
Yeah.
Allen's house was kept as a crime scene for 2 years following the murder before eventually being demolished. He was extremely well liked by his colleagues, so much so that they have put up a reward of 40,000 British pounds for information leading to the identification, arrest, and conviction of Allen's killer or killers. And Crime Stoppers have also added a £10,000 reward, bringing the total to £50,000, making it one of the largest offered in a UK murder investigation. Anyone with information about this case can contact UK Crime Stoppers at 0800 555 111.
Well, I hate
Very
that.
Brutal murder, unsolved.
Yeah. I hate that that's unsolved because I feel like a sloppy murder.
Yeah. Like, we have DNA. It's solvable.
Yeah.
Can they use some of that reward for DNA testing? Like,
it's true. Why not, right?
If that's the reason holding them back from doing that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it is because, like you said, it is expensive. But yeah, that's a good idea then. My next case is a little heavy, just for a pre-warning. 21-year-old Amber Meidinger, I think it is, and 25-year-old Melvin Knight were in and out of homeless shelters when they met in January 2010. They bounced around until they found themselves in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. Located about 30 miles east of Pittsburgh. Knight had a friend named Ricky Smyrens. I'm so bad with names. Like Ricky Smyrens, who he met in a prison, and he invited Amber and Melvin to stay at his rundown apartment where the murder would later occur. Ricky was born to a sex worker that was drug addicted and working in the streets of Philly.
Oh.
He was in and out of abusive foster homes until he was placed with the Smyrens family, who took him in.
That's sad.
Yeah. Almost everybody in here had like a little bit of a bad upbringing. It doesn't excuse what they do. But.
Right.
He was pretty much a full-blown criminal by the time he had settled into his new home at the age of 10. He was robbing neighbors.
Age of 10?
Yes.
Oh my God.
He was robbing neighbors, drinking, doing drugs, and he was suffering from PTSD, probably from the abuse he had suffered in his foster homes.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's really sad. He had a 17-year-old girlfriend named Angela Marinucci.
While he's 10?
No, sorry. No.
Okay.
No. Okay. No, that was his little background. This is
okay, so he's older now. Okay.
Yeah, we're living in the apartment now.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, you never know. I mean,
I know. You're right. Yeah, at 10, you're a big baller.
It's usually the other way around, though. An older man dating a younger woman, but hey.
Yeah, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
So now we're living in the apartment and stuff. He's older. He had a 17-year-old girlfriend named Angela Marinucci, who is the real mastermind behind this crime. It is reported Angela and Melvin had intellectual disabilities. Melvin was born to a drug-addicted father who was not present in his life. And at age 5, he fell out of a moving vehicle, suffering a brain injury when he cracked his head on the pavement.
Oh my God.
It caused permanent physical and mental disabilities from that.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Angela's mother and half-sister confirmed that when she was 15, she was hit by a truck and suffered a TBI.
My God.
Yeah. It was also suspected she could have been suffering from drug and alcohol addiction at the time of the crime. 28-year-old Peggy Miller and 36-year-old Robert Masters were roommates at this apartment with Amber and Melvin. These two had no previous criminal history and seemed the closest to average, quote unquote average out of all of them, but they were involved in this crime as well. In 2010, 30-year-old Jennifer Lee Daugherty had made friends with these terrible people. She was born in Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania area and was living with her parents there. She also suffered from intellectual disabilities, but was trying to be as independent as possible and even talked about wanting to live on her own.
Oh.
She was very trusting to people and would have thought that these people were just her friends. A lot of the info we have is from court retellings of what had happened from the trials. Angela apparently got jealous of Jennifer when she heard Ricky on the phone telling Jennifer that he loved her and wanted to marry her. Ricky confirmed in his testimony that he was telling Jennifer these things, and somehow she got Amber and Melvin on her side. Angela got them on her side to lure Jennifer to their apartment, where they were all basically living together. There was reports of people in and out of this apartment constantly, but they were all basically living in this rundown apartment.
So these two people with an intellectual disability are also luring over another person with an intellectual disability.
Yes, and then there's 6 perpetrators altogether, and then Jennifer the victim. So there's 2 with intellectual disabilities who do the crime, and then Jennifer also suffers from intellectual disability. Yes. This apartment was located on Pennsylvania Avenue. Jennifer knew Amber from a place called West Place, which was a center for people with special needs. So on February 8th, 2010, Jennifer went to see Ricky at the apartment, but it was all a ploy. She traveled by bus to go stay at quote-unquote Peggy's house after she had called and asked her parents if it was okay. She will then be held captive and tortured repeatedly for 3 days before they murdered her. Trigger warning for the torture, and I'm not sure on the exact timeline of each thing that had happened to her during this, but this is from the court testimony.
Okay.
They ripped through all of her stuff, taking money, gift cards, and her cell phone. They poured liquids onto her stuff. They beat her with full soda bottles. Angela and Amber took turns beating her with a metal towel rack. They cut her hair. They put nail polish all over her face. They dumped various liquids, followed by various spices from the cabinet on her. She was beat by a crutch. Melvin then stripped her naked, gagged her, and raped her.
Oh my God.
They forced her to eat urine, feces, and detergent.
No. And Melvin has a disability, right?
Yeah, it was Amber and Melvin that have the disability. Or Angela and Melvin. It was Angela and Melvin have the disability. Sorry. Too many A's. The spices and the other chemicals caused Jennifer to cry out in pain because her eyes were burning. So Ricky told Jennifer she stinks to go take a bath. They took her clothes and threw them out of the car window. And apparently one time while the others were out, Robert tried to help Jennifer find new clothes and escape, but everyone ended up coming home before she could leave. Ugh. When the others returned, it made them angry she was trying to escape, so they all voted and decided to kill her.
Oh my God.
They forced her to write a suicide note and then tied her up with a string of Christmas lights. Ricky then gave Melvin a steak knife, then he stabbed her in the chest and the throat. They then put her body in a garbage can and then they dumped it by an abandoned truck in the parking lot of Greensburg-Salem Middle School.
In a middle school.
In a middle school parking lot, yeah. Her body was found February 12th, 2010. When the owner of the truck returned, and after doing some investigating, police found Jennifer's belongings and supplies and towels with blood on it from them trying to clean up, all located in the attic of the apartment. Police also talked to neighbors who claimed hearing screaming, thumping, and loud bangs that sounded like the roof was coming in on the 12th. Everyone was arrested the same day her body was found. A quote from Jennifer's stepfather says, quote, "One thing I can tell you is there is no reason for them to do what they did to Jennifer. Jennifer was just a gentle, laid-back person. There wasn't a mean bone in her body," end quote.
It's so sad.
Yeah, this is terrible, I know. Angela Marinucci was sentenced to life in prison on August 3rd, 2011, and she was underage at the time of the crime, so she got the maximum sentencing that she could. She is not eligible for parole until 2070, and she is being held at State Correctional Institution in Cambridge. These are all prisons in Pennsylvania. Melvin Knight was sentenced on August 30th, 2012. He pleaded guilty to first and second degree murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy to commit murder and kidnapping. He was sentenced to death. He tried appealing multiple times over the years, but was denied every time.
Did he get charged for the rape?
The rape was not in on that one.
Okay.
Yeah. He should have been. You're right. Yeah. I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't
Judge Deborah Todd said, quote, "Following our thorough review of the record in this case, we conclude that the appellant's sentence of death was not the product of passion, prejudice, or any other arbitrary factors, but rather was fully supported by the evidence that Knight and his co-defendants held the intellectually disabled victim against her will for several days, during which time they continuously subjected her to myriad forms of physical and emotional torture, eventually stabbing her in the chest, slicing her throat, and strangling her," end quote. He's being held at State Correctional Institution in Phoenix, Pennsylvania. Amber Meldinger pled guilty to third-degree murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy. She was going to receive the death penalty until she testified against the others. She received 40 to 80 years in prison. She is held in State Correctional Institute in Muncie. Peggy Darlene Miller was found guilty and sentenced to 35 to 74 years. She's being held in State Correctional Institute in Muncie with Amber as well. Peggy and them are the ones that had no criminal record previously.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky was found guilty on February 28th, 2013, and he was sentenced to death. His sentencing was upheld through all his appeals, and he is held in State Correctional Institute in Phoenix, where Melvin is. Robert Lauren Masters Jr. was sentenced to 30 to 70 years on December 19th, 2013. He pled guilty to third-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder and kidnapping. He is held in State Correctional Institute Green in Greene County, Pennsylvania. Cyril H. Wetch, who was an Allegheny County coroner and a forensic pathologist who has thousands of autopsies under his belt, is quoted saying about this autopsy of Jennifer, "This is one of the most horrific cases I have seen. You have one young, defenseless woman, 6 people who are keeping her captive and doing all of these things knowing she is mentally challenged. Put it all together. It is bizarre. It is extreme barbarism." End quote.
Yeah, they all need the
positive
death penalty.
Yes, I know. I agree with you.
They're all wastes of space, wastes of air. Get rid of them.
Yep. I don't care about like also the two that had no criminal record previously. And even the slim moment where you felt like you were gonna try and help, fuck out of
Mm-hmm.
here,
Yeah.
fuck out of here. You know, a positive that came out of this brutal murder was a new law called Jennifer's Law. This law makes it illegal for anyone to witness a violent crime and fail to report it to the police. Failure to report the crime would be a misdemeanor of the third degree. This law was established on April 23rd, 2012.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
'Cause I was going to say, if the neighbors heard screaming and all kinds of banging around, they did nothing about it.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of the Sam Nordquist case we covered in one of our news cases, maybe 3 or 4,
Okay.
where he was kept captive. He went to meet a woman and they tortured him and dumped him.
Yeah. People are sick, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like somebody in the fellow disability community, I really wanted to make sure we covered this. That's why I sprinkled this in, not a themed one. Because this is Pennsylvania, I never heard of this case.
Yeah. I think I added it to our list, but I had just come across it randomly. I didn't know of it before that.
Yeah, actually, you had it listed as the Greenberg 6,
Mm-hmm.
and whenever I would Google it, that's not the name it's referred to much, actually.
Interesting.
It was just like the murder of Jennifer Daugherty,
Mm-hmm.
like it
Yeah, and when
wasn't.
I found it, that's what it was called, the Greensburg Six.
Yeah, so I don't know if like maybe people who just retell the story coined that name or what,
Maybe.
but yeah,
Wow, that was horrendous.
yeah, I didn't end on that one. Not that my next one's great either,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah. Mm. I hope they all die a horrible, painful death.
yeah, me too.
All right. Next up, we have Sara Bushland. Sara Bushland was 15 years old when she went missing on April 3rd, 1996, after getting off the school bus. No one has seen or heard from her since.
Ugh.
Sara Bushland was born August 15th, 1980. She has 2 sisters, Leslie and Diana. This is another case where it was kind of hard to find information on, but if her parents were ever married, they eventually divorced, and Sara's mom remarried a man named Jim Lambert. Sara and her sisters lived with their dad. Sara's sister Leslie described her as a social butterfly, and she's quoted saying she could fit into any group. She could bounce around from one clique to another, and she always fit right in, end quote. Sara was an overall good kid, but did start getting into some trouble in her teen years. She was very close with her sister Leslie, as they were just 18 months apart, and they sometimes got in trouble together. In December of 1994, Sara was caught shoplifting. Rather than face her father's disappointment and punishment, Sara, who was only 13 at the time, left her dad's house in Colorado and moved in with her mom and stepdad in Spooner, Wisconsin in January of 1995. Her stepdad, Jim, had 2 sons named Dean and David who also lived in the home. According to Leslie, things didn't necessarily get easier for Sara in Wisconsin, saying the Lambert home wasn't always happy. That January of 1995, Sara started the spring semester of her freshman year at Spooner High School. Sara began hanging out with an older crowd and started dating a 21-year-old man named Travis Lane in September of 1995. So she's 14 years old at that point?
Jesus. Okay.
Or no, she's 15 in March of 96. Her birthday's in August. So I guess she was 15 then. Okay. But yeah, still that's terrible.
Yeah. Yep, that's no good.
Mm-hmm. Sara always kept in contact with her sister Leslie, who said, quote, "She always took care of everybody and didn't bring much attention to herself. She was very good at hiding her feelings," end quote. Sara ends up getting pregnant by Travis, but had an abortion on February 6, 1996 at a clinic in Duluth, Minnesota. Sara kept a diary but was becoming increasingly unhappy living at the Lambert house. On March 31st, 1996, Sara told her grandmother that she wanted to move back in with her dad and sister, who were now living in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. A few days later, on Wednesday, April 3rd, 1996, Sara's stepbrother Dean gave her a ride to her friend Jenna's house in Spooner, Wisconsin around 7 a.m. with the plan for the two girls to walk to school together. Sara's original plan was to return to her friend's house after school to hang out and change clothes there before attending a school dance together that night. Between 11:30 a.m. and 12 noon, Sara's boyfriend Travis picked her up from school, and the pair spent Sara's lunch break together, which I read was common for her to do. It's unknown how the lunch break went or what was said, but Sara returned back to school and had a change of plans for the afternoon, as she was asking several neighbors and friends for a ride home to her house instead of going back to Jenna's house after school. According to solvethecase.org, Sara told Jenna the real reason she needed to get home was to get her diary before her stepfather could find it and read it again. Sara had been grounded for nearly 2 months at this point, and her punishment was ending that upcoming weekend. She was afraid if her stepfather Jim found her diary that she would be in even more trouble. I couldn't find out what happened that caused Sara to be grounded in the first place, or it didn't say what was written in her diary that would make her worried she would get in trouble. Maybe her parents didn't know about the pregnancy and abortion. Maybe she talked about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
School left out around 3:15 p.m. and Sara ended up taking the bus home. The bus dropped Sara off in front of her driveway around 4 p.m. 4 students saw Sara get off the bus at her usual stop and begin walking up her family's long driveway. A dark-colored pickup truck had also pulled into the driveway next to her. Some students on the bus believed the truck belonged to Sara's boyfriend because she seemed to know who the driver of the truck was based on her body language. There is conflicting reports, with some saying they saw her just talking to the driver and others saying that she actually got into the truck. But the truck backed out of the driveway and went in the direction of the nearby town of Trego, and Sara was never seen again.
Oh, scary.
According to phone records, at 4:37 p.m., Sara's stepbrother David called his father to tell him that Sara hadn't come home from school yet. Both Sara's mother and stepfather were out of town that day, I read, for a funeral, and hadn't been planning on coming home until the following day. But when Sara's mother Marie learned that Sara hadn't returned from school, she hopped in her car and drove back to Spooner. She spent the evening driving around, she called Sara's friends, and even paid a visit to Travis's apartment, but there were no signs of Sara. Sara was reported missing the next morning on April 4th. The initial urgency of her disappearance quickly dissipated, though, even for her mom. Leslie, her sister, is quoted saying, "My mom would basically tell me that I didn't need to worry. This wasn't a big event. And I've been since told that she was reported without a sense of urgency. I don't understand it. No matter how your child disappeared, it should always be urgent. But at 17 years old, I just listened," end quote.
Yeah, that's really weird.
It is.
That's not normal for a mother.
Police also did not initially search for the teenager, as her case was treated as a runaway.
Of course it was, yes.
And Marie, the mom, also believed Sara ran away. But she didn't take any money or clothes with her, and she had no previous history of running away from home.
And she had plans to go to a friend's house.
They were going to go to a school dance that night.
Yeah.
Her father and older sister didn't believe that running away was a possibility. On Thursday, April 18, 1996, an article was posted in the Spooner Advocate about Sara being missing. Many people didn't even know about the situation until this article was posted because they hadn't heard about it, not on the news or anywhere. No one knew this girl was missing from their town.
Wow.
Law enforcement conducted the first of several searches at the Lambert property in July of 1999, more than 3 years after Sara disappeared. Investigators also combed through a trash dump on the property in 1999 and dragged nearby Spring Lake in August of 2000, but didn't find anything.
No.
In May of 2013, a group of more than 70 officials made up of Washburn County officers and Wisconsin's Division of Criminal Investigation, including cadaver dogs, searched the Lambert property once more but still came up with nothing significant. Sheriff Stewart, who assumed his position in early 2019, told Dateline he can't explain why investigators lagged in their search for Sarah, and the original investigators have since retired.
Ugh.
And I
This
also
is a
didn't
really
read
disheartening
anywhere,
case.
what'd you say?
It's a very disheartening case.
It is, very. No one took it seriously. Not even
No,
her
and
own
it was
mom.
so long later. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they waited 3 years to even search the Lambert home.
Yeah. There's going to be nothing.
Mm-hmm. And I also didn't read, was anybody questioned? Was the boyfriend questioned? I didn't read that anywhere.
Yeah.
Sarah's mom died in April of 2017 from complications of COPD, and her stepdad died in June of 2017 also from complications of COPD. Just 1 week after Jim died, investigators executed a search warrant on Lambert property for a fourth time. Again, nothing of significance was found, though.
No.
Sheriff Stewart says investigators won't give up on the fight to find Sarah, and he's quoted saying, "The Sara Bushland case is still an ongoing investigation. We constantly get leads, and we are doing follow-up with it. The case has never been closed," end quote.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear, they didn't, it's not the attitude.
Yeah.
But
her sister Leslie said...
I was going to say, what a shitty start to the investigation, though.
Yeah. But this happens in a lot of cases, especially in the 90s.
Yeah.
They're all treated as runaways. Her sister Leslie said, quote, "I will never give up hope that she's still out there. There's no evidence to say otherwise. I wouldn't look poorly on her had she left. I won't give up. I'll continue to help find answers for Sarah," end quote. Leslie also created a Facebook page that she updates often that everyone should go follow, called Find Sara Bushland, and Sarah is just spelled S-A-R-A. At the time of her disappearance, Sarah was 5 feet tall and about 104 pounds. She has blonde hair and blue eyes. She has a mole on the left side of her neck and above her upper lip. At the time of her disappearance, she wore wire-frame glasses. When she was last seen, she was wearing silver rings on her right hand and a class ring with a black stone. Sarah may also go by the nickname Bug. If you have any information on Sarah's case, please contact the Washburn County Sheriff's Office at 715-468-4700. And then 3 weeks from when this episode is being released, will mark 30 years since Sarah has been missing.
Oh, that's really sad.
It is.
Damn, and I don't think, unless somebody just finds her body somewhere in the woods.
I know, and it's like, who did this? I feel like the boyfriend is the only one I could think of, unless one of her stepbrothers are involved. I don't know.
No, the boyfriend's the only one. The mom's a little suspicious, but she's dead.
She is, but they were in a different place
when
it happened, but... I mean, I
one.
don't know. I don't know what their relationship was like.
Yeah. That's poopy.
Very sad.
Yeah. All right. My next case is the Kelly family. The Kelly family was also known as the Kelly Friends or the Kelly Gang. This family committed all their murders from August to December 1887. Their history is mostly from 55-year-old William Kelly's confession. The Kelly's family history was traced back to the rugged mountains of Pennsylvania. I just realized that there's a theme here. This doesn't happen in Pennsylvania, but they came from Pennsylvania, so I guess that counts. Yeah. The father, William Kelly, was 55 years old at the peak of their criminal career. He was described as a weathered, illiterate man who had spent much of his life drifting between odd jobs and petty crime.
Okay.
His wife, Kate Kelly, His wife, Kate Kelly, was his partner in every sense, providing the feminine allure needed to lure in their victims into their trap.
Oh my.
You're going to start to see a little theme here. This might remind you of something. The family also had two children, 20-year-old Bill, often called Billy, and 18-year-old Kit. In 1869, seeking a fresh start or perhaps a place where their past wouldn't follow them, William moved the family to Kansas. So we're back in good old Kansas, guys.
Hmm. It's like the Bloody Benders.
Yes, that is how I found this case. So, and
Okay.
it's a short one, so that's why I figured I would just cover it in our True Crime in a Dive since I recently did the
Yeah.
Benders. So, they spent nearly 2 decades drifting along the southern border of the state of Kansas, moving frequently to avoid the gaze of the local law enforcement as they dabbled in cattle rustling.
Oh, I thought you were going to say cannibalism.
Oh, sorry. God. That would have taken a way bigger turn than I would have thought.
Yeah.
0 to 100 really quick. Eventually, the family settled roughly 25 miles from Beaver, Oklahoma, in a region known as No Man's Land. It was called this because this territory lacked a formal government or a structured court system. It became a sanctuary for outlaws and drifters. The Kellys established a modest homestead and opened a tavern there as well. To the cowboys and wealthy, quote-unquote, drummers, that's what the term was for traveling salesmen, passing through this desolate area, the Kellys appeared to be an ordinary, hard-working frontier family just offering a place. They provided warm meals, whiskey, and a place to rest, services that most people out there were desperate for on these lonely trails.
There's like a lot, like the Bloody Benders.
Yep. Yes. The Kellys' transition from cattle thieves to serial killers was driven by simple greed. They realized that wealthy travelers carrying large sums of cash or vulnerable merchandise were easy targets in a land where a person could disappear without a trace. Like, I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
literally.
It's so desolate. Their method of killing, this is also crazy how similar it was to the Benders. Their method of killing was like spot on, and they were, if the years, the Kellys were first. So
I was going to say, I wonder if they knew each other, but okay.
yeah, the Kellys, they're close. It's very close, but I'd have to go look and go back to the Benders on exact years, but the Kellys were a little bit different of timing. Their method of killing was very similar to the Benders in Labette County, Kansas, a decade earlier. The Kelly Tavern. Oh no, Benders were first then. The Benders a decade earlier.
Yeah. So maybe they did know of them.
Maybe, but maybe. The Kelly Tavern featured a trapdoor hidden beneath the floorboards of the main dining room area, and when a guest sat down at the place of honor, usually with their backs to a heavy cloth or curtain, the family would strike. While the guest was distracted by a meal or conversation with Kit, William or Billy would emerge from behind the curtain and crush the victim's skull with a heavy rusted axe.
Jeez.
To ensure the victim was dead, one of the family members would often slit the person's throat. The body was then dropped through the trapdoor into a shallow cellar. In the middle of the night, the family would strip the bodies of their valuables, including clothing, and burying them in the soft dirt around the barn or in the nearby ravines.
I mean, they had a system in place, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe they did learn from the Benders, you know?
Yeah. Also makes you wonder how many other families could have been doing this back then.
I'm telling you, out in the middle of nowhere, you could be doing anything out there. I cannot imagine. Like, it's crazy. You could be doing it now, I'll be honest. The span of their most intense killing spree lasted only 5 months, from August to December. During this time, a string of the disappearances began to worry the local ranching community. Among the missing was a man named Jim Coven, a well-known cattleman. J.T. Teller was a wealthy salesman from Chicago, and a merchant from Texas named just known as Johnson. They were all victims that were missing. And because it's no man's land, it was chaotic. I mean, there was
Mhm.
no law. Like, there's no law.
Yeah.
Literally. So, and also, a lot of these disappearances were just initially blamed on like bandits and like the elements. I mean, you're out in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, who knows what could happen to you out there?
Yeah.
Contract a disease and get sick and die.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, literally, it's Oregon Trail.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Oregon Trail,
Yeah.
dysentery.
Yeah. Yep. Typhoid, all those things. They're
Yeah.
dying. Yeah. In late December 1887, the family abruptly abandoned their tavern without a word to their neighbors. This suspicious departure prompted a traveler named S.T. Gregg, who had previously stayed at the inn, to investigate the property. Upon entering the abandoned tavern, Gregg was met with a sickening sweet stench. He discovered the hidden cellar and found the decomposing remains of 3 men.
Oh.
Horrified, he alerted the authorities and a group of local cowboys. A search party, led by a man known only as Texie, descended on the property. As they dug into the loosened dirt near the barn, they uncovered a graveyard. 7 more bodies were found, bringing the total to 11 bodies.
Wow.
Yeah. The murder weapon, that was a blood-stained axe with human hair still embedded into the blade, was found nearby the barn. The discovery ignited bloodthirst in the locals
Mhm.
because they wanted vengeance. And like, this
Yeah.
is, I mean, there's no law, guys. Like, there's no law.
Mhm.
So a posse of vigilantes was quickly formed to hunt the family down.
Good for
The
them.
Kellys had a significant head start, but the posse tracked them relentlessly across the border all the way into Texas.
Did they find them?
On January 4th, 1888, the vigilantes finally cornered the family. There would be no trial and no formal courthouse proceedings. The law of the panhandle was swift and final. William, Billy, and Kit were seized by the mob. According to the historical accounts, William Kelly confessed to the murders before the end, um, hoping to spare his daughter was what he was begging for by confessing to everything, but the mob, they didn't care.
Yeah.
The 3 were hoisted onto horses, nooses tightened around their necks, and hanged from a sturdy tree. Kate Kelly, so this is the 4th one, met a different end. I had to chuckle, to be honest. It's terrible. But as the chaos unfolded, she attempted to flee on her horseback. In her desperation to escape, she was thrown from her horse. She fell awkwardly and broke her neck, dying almost instantly.
What?
I know. What
That's
are the
crazy.
chances? Is that not crazy?
I mean, I guess that was a quicker way to go
Yeah, right?
than
I
hanging
guess.
there.
I probably would have rather gone that way too, I guess.
So her horse just like got spooked, maybe?
Yeah, like maybe like running away and it just like threw her from the horse.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's like something
The
out of a
body.
movie.
I know. That's like I'm picturing this in the like in my head like a movie. Like they're
Mhm.
hunting them down. They're camping in the Wild West.
Yeah.
Just roughing it out there, trying to this posse of I don't even know how many men it was, just trying
Mhm.
to like hunt the family down. Like holy crap! The bodies of the Kelly family were left where they fell or hung as a grim warning to other outlaws. With their deaths, the brief but bloody reign of the Kelly family ended, leaving behind another dark tale out of the Wild West.
Wow. What a time to be alive.
I know. I would have loved it, I think.
Yeah. I'd probably choose to own a tavern.
Yeah, but not like a murderer's tavern.
Not a no, just a regular tavern.
Rather regular good old tavern with kitties.
Yeah, yes, with kitties running around.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Back then, we wouldn't have been allowed to own anything.
No. We were
They'd make us
owned.
work as the prostitutes in the tavern.
Yeah, actually, we would be the little hose.
That's what they'd make us
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. No, I'm Calamity Jane. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that was interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good one. I hope you guys enjoyed that. You know,
Yeah.
good variety.
They probably thought they were going to get away with it like the Benders. But nope, they were found.
No, Benders got away, so they didn't
Mhm.
quite learn enough from the Benders. If the Benders
Yeah.
did come first, yeah.
Mhm.
You know, they didn't have a long run either. Actually, the Benders did it for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Make like a shadow and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at.
Lurking in the Shadows podcast.
We're still working on our TikTok, but if you have any questions, concerns, or case suggestions, please shoot us a Gmail at
Lurking in the Shadows podcast at gmail.com. And keep lurking around for our next episode. Bye.
Bye.